Hello, I'm Kat and welcome to my channel. So we all know that end of the year means Goodreads Choice Awards are coming out soon. So I thought it'd be fun to just go over some of the more popular sci-fi and fantasy releases of this year and just see if I can get an idea of maybe what might be nominated and just see if I can get any of these right. So in today's video, we're just going to be going over all of those popular releases that came out this year, and I'm just going to see if I can guess some of the books that are going to be nominated for Goodreads Choice Awards. So we'll be going over sci-fi and fantasy in this video, and they are my two favorite genres. They're what I read the most often and what I feel like I really have a good sense of. Yeah, I tend to keep pretty up to date with what's coming out, so I feel like I have a very good idea of the books that could be nominated. So let's start with sci-fi and talk about what some of these books are. Number one, I don't have it yet with me, but 100% Lightbringer by Pierce Brown is going to be nominated. This is book 6 in the Red Rising saga, which is a massively popular science fiction series that so many people love, so many people are obsessed with, and this has been, every review I've seen of this one has said that it is probably one of their best books that they've read this year, so I have no doubt that this one's going to be nominated and has a very real possibility that this could be one that would win. Then another one I haven't read yet, Fractal Noise by Christopher Paolini. This is book, I think it's either 0.5 or 1.5 of his other release of another book in this series called To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. That one won the Goodreads Choice Award for sci-fi a few years ago, so I highly anticipate that this could be one that a lot of people have picked up based on that. I didn't particularly love book 1, but I thought it was a very good story. It just went way too long, so I'm interested to see if this one's any good, but I definitely could see that this one's there. Then this one I'm not entirely sure if it will be classified more as science fiction or fantasy, but TJ Klune's an incredibly popular author. This is his most recent release, and I know that, yeah, his books are incredibly popular. They're very highly rated, and this one is like a romance between robots and puppets or something like that, so I definitely see that this one will be popular as well. And also another super popular author, Justin Cronin, The Ferryman. I just finished reading it. It's a book of like all of these people on this island following what they're told they're living on this island isolated from the rest of the world following the basically collapse of civilization due to ecological changes on the earth, and there's all of these most prestigious people living really fancy lives while everyone else is, and just they're living their lives while the rest of the world is supposedly collapsing, but we're following a few people who start to question this reality. It was pretty good. So I definitely could see this one being one that's popular. Actually, yeah, I have no doubt that this one's going to be on there because he is such a popular author. So I'm not really sure what the release date of this one was. I do believe it was in 2023, but Children of Memory by Adrian Tchaikovsky is another one that I really could see being nominated. Again, a very popular author, threw a book in a very popular trilogy, and definitely something that a lot of people will have read, a lot of people will have rated. And again, just as a little side tangent, I don't know what classifies a book as something to be nominated. I don't know. I know there's certain regulations about the number of ratings versus number average review, but otherwise, who knows? Who knows what they actually decide on for it. The Marriage Act by John Mars, I could definitely see it. It's about almost a dystopian world where this new act comes in that regulates marriages, and people have to abide by certain rules to be able for their marriage to be valid, or to be able to be eligible for all these different tax benefits and a certain state of living. Another one, I know nothing about this one, but Translation State by Anne Leckie. I could see that. She's a very, very popular author, and most of her books tend to be very well regarded. And then Starter Villain by John Scalzi. This is about a guy who inherits his uncle's villain enterprise. Again, a very popular author, another one that I could definitely see being nominated. So sci-fi is a much shorter section of this video because it's a lot harder to predict, I find. And looking at this, I don't know, I know a lot of sci-fi releases that I've really enjoyed this year, but I don't necessarily know how popular a lot of them are. Whereas I find that fantasy is very, very easy to tell which books are popular because a lot more people talk about it. So the fantasy section will be a lot bigger, and let's just dive into that. So if we are talking about popular fantasy books of 2023, you know what we have to talk about? Fourth Wing. There is no doubt in my mind that this is going to not only be nominated, but this is going to win. And yeah, there is literally no doubt in my mind that this is going to be the winner based on just how many people went absolutely wild over this. The average rating, which is like one of the highest rated books I've ever seen on Goodreads, and just the sheer number of people who have read it, this is going to win. It's just like the same energy as anytime a Sarah J. Maas book comes out, you know it's going to win. This is like the same type of energy that those books tend to have. And yeah, it would honestly be like the biggest shock in the world to me if this one isn't the winner. And with the second book coming out, like, I don't believe they tend to nominate books within the same series in the same year, because, you know, if they did, I would see book 2 also being nominated this year, but I know they typically only keep to like one book per author or per series. But yeah, this is going to be the winner. We have no doubt. This will not be a surprise to anyone. And honestly, that is like my 100% prediction. A lot of these other ones, like, I have a lot that I'm sure will be nominated, and then a few that could be just based on like the popularity and whatnot, but that is my 100% prediction, is that Fourth Wing will win. So Brandon Sanderson this year came out with 4 secret projects, and I would be really surprised if at least one of them wasn't nominated this year. And the one that I anticipate the most is Tress of the Emerald Sea. So this was the first one that came out, and I would say it's the most popular one because I'd say it's the most popular. A lot of people have read this. It's very easy to get into. It's like a Princess Bride type retelling, and in that sense it's very accessible for a lot of people who maybe aren't into these epic fantasy worlds. It's also connected to Cosmere, which is his very popular universe, so there's things there for fans and people who maybe aren't as into his books. And I've seen a lot of people too online where this is their first Brandon Sanderson book they ever read, and from here it's kind of starting a launching pad to his other stuff. But yeah, from here it's starting as a launching pad to his other stuff. But I highly anticipate this one. And the only other one of his secret projects that I could see being nominated is, yeah, the only other one that I could see being nominated this year is maybe Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, because that one was very good as well. And I feel like it very much has, it's starting to become popular online as well. Like, obviously all of these secret releases have been very popular. So many people have read them, but like some of them, like the Frugal Wizard's Guide to Surviving Medieval England, not many people have liked. And the most recent one, The Sunlit Man, I have not heard anybody talk about it yet. So I feel like it's probably going to be Tress of the Emerald Sea that's nominated, if there's only one. And then another thing that is always popular are series or continuations in series. So ones that are well known, like very popular authors and very popular series, and that's where the next few books are going to fall into. So first of all, A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. This is the prequel to The Priory of the Orange Tree, and that's a very popular book. This has been a very popular release. Like, I definitely see that this being one that could be on that path. And yeah, I've seen so many people absolutely love this. It's very, very highly rated and has a ton of reviews. Then very similarly, Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. She's a super popular author. This series is very, very well loved at this point. And when it came out this year, everybody was losing their minds over it. And the only thing that I think could impede this one from being nominated is that, sorry, I'm just checking, but I do believe, I can't remember if it was technically released at the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023. And also if it was too early in January, maybe it's been too long since it's been out that it wouldn't be nominated, but I very much anticipate that this one could be. And another series continuation, The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. So she is such a popular author, and this series, the Darker Shade of Magic series, is so ridiculously popular too. Like, absolutely everybody I know who's read it has loved it, and the fact that a 4th book came out in this series has been like such an exciting prospect for so many people. So I feel like just this aspect of being back in a world and being back enjoying these books, like, I very much feel like this one could be on that list. And the only other series continuation that I have on hand is Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. So this one could be a little bit of a wild card, but I do believe that this is technically the first like adult book within this world, and it's part of her like Kingdom of the Wicked series. So this one's a, how do you say? It's like a standalone book within that world, I believe. And yeah, technically this one's adult. So maybe by that aspect, it could be nominated, because I do know that her other books within this world are incredibly popular and they are so well, like so many people have read them. I personally don't really like them that much, but I do anticipate that this one will be a super popular read. So Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong is one. Again, similarly to In the Lives of Puppets, where I feel like it could either be classified fantasy or sci-fi, just depending on how they decide to go. But she, again, very popular author. This is her first adult book, and it has been very well reviewed as well. Her young adult books have done incredibly well in the Goodreads Awards in the past, so I wouldn't be surprised if this one was nominated and did similarly well. And also, just an aside, I feel like the fact that so many of these books are subscription-based boxes, or from subscription boxes, really works in their favor, because it tends to give like so many more people an opportunity to read them, and so many more people are now likely to read them versus if it was just regularly released. Because just think of how many people get like Fairy Loot or Lumicrate and then go on to rate it in Goodreads. So I feel like so many of these books being within subscription boxes really helps. So the Jasad Heir is, I believe it's a fantasy romance, and I really want to see more fantasy romance nominated. And I am also, as an aside, I'm really hoping that a book by Carissa Broadbent gets nominated this year. I can't remember when The Serpent and Wings Tonight came out, and it might have been last year, but I do desperately hope that a book by her is nominated. So the Jasad Heir, another very popular one. This one's an Illumicrate book. Like, you know, everything is there for it to be nominated. Haven't read it yet, but I think it's, everything I'm seeing is that it's very good. The Witch King by Martha Wells, another very popular author, her adult fantasy debut. So I feel like that can get a lot of people to want to pick it up because of that. And yeah, super popular author. She is also coming out with another installation in her Murderbot series that comes out, I believe, mid-November. So just depending on when the cutoff is for these Goodreads nominees, there is a very good chance that that one could be nominated as well in the sci-fi category. Then The Last Tale of a Flower Bride by Roshani Chotsky, another very, very popular author who I think this is her adult debut. This was very beautiful and a really, really beautiful, like lyrical fantasy. Yeah, like really, really great one. Only thing is, again, that it came out in January, and I don't know if that necessarily like negatively impacts nominations if it's too early in the year. For now, at this point, people have forgotten about it or whatnot, but yeah, I could see this. Now I guess we'll get into like more the wild card books that maybe aren't as likely to be nominated but could potentially be. So first one is one that I absolutely love, which is Inkblood's Sister Scribe. It was a Book of the Month book, and I do think that that will significantly help its odds. But this one I haven't seen as many people talk about, but it is very highly rated on Goodreads at this point. The Invisible Hour by Alice Hoffman, again, Book of the Month. It was she is the author of Practical Magic and is a fairly popular author because of that. Like, I think a lot of people do tend to read her books. So this one is a maybe just, I haven't heard anybody talk about it, but she is a relatively well-known author. So Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. This one might be coming out like slightly too late in the year to be considered really nominated, because it's coming out, it did come out mid-October, I believe, so it might just be slightly too late in the nomination category for that many people to have read it. But she has written quite a few very popular books again, and this one seems like kind of a gothic horror dark gothic, like dark academia. That's something that's super popular. And the last one that I have in this category is Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. Again, Book of the Month book. It is her adult debut of a very popular young adult author. And the only thing that I'm thinking could be an issue for this one is that it is more magical realism than fantasy, and that might kind of dissuade it from being in this fantasy category, but I wouldn't be surprised if this one's nominated either. And then a few that technically haven't released yet, just a few random others. There's Bone Trees and there's Travis Baldry's newest release, which is the prequel to Legends and Lattes. Again, I think this one's coming out in November, so that might just be a little bit beyond the cutoff date. I don't know for sure. Olivia Blake had 2 books that were traditionally published this year, and I have noticed that Goodreads tends to, if books were previously released and then traditionally published after on, they tend to consider them having been released in this year that they were traditionally published. So there is definitely a possibility that those 2 could be nominated this year, and they are Masters of Death and One for My Enemy. And yeah, I'm sure there's a ton that I'm not thinking of, but this is just a really quick overview of some of the books that I anticipate being nominated for Goodreads Choice Awards. So just an FYI, I will be reading all of the books that are nominated in both these categories, and I will be doing vlogs about them. So let me know if you're excited to see those, and hopefully I will see you guys around. Bye.